WMNF, Tampa.
The opinions presented on the Healthy Steps show are the evidence-based opinions of Dr. Fred Harvey, the callers, and his guests. These are not the opinions of the staff, the volunteers, or the board of WMNF. The information provided on the show is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease. There is no implied patient-physician relationship in these calls. The nature of the calls is educational and informational only.
Hello there, my noble listeners. It is sitting in high cotton to be with you here on this Monday morning. I am ever so appreciative that you keep your dial tuned to WMNF Tampa, your resistance radio station from Tampa Bay to the Gulf of Mexico, and, coincidentally enough, the only shrewd little FM station that Doris Goldblatt's ever streams while she's autographing rock and roll concert posters. And you can stream us as well at WMNF.org. Today, Dr. Harvey bestows upon us another Ask Me Anything Monday module of the Healthy Steps radio show. So you know what has to be done here. You can ask your questions. You can loosen your load by sharing your medical questions or concerns by simply dialing 813-239-9663. Phoenix came in today looking forward to taking your call. So that number again is 813-239-9663. You can also send an email to dj@wmnf.org. Good morning to you, Dr. Harvey. Let me stop my yammering and ask you my favorite Monday morning question, and that is, what is the skinny today, Dr. Fred?
Good morning, Bill. It's another beautiful day in paradise.
That is absolutely the truth there, Doctor. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm doing hunky-dory. Doing any better would take two of me just to fully appreciate it.
I love that. And I want to say hi to all my Healthy Step listeners. Glad you're here again, and I'm glad to be here. Geez, oh man, Amy Goodman always teased me up, and I got a little too political last week, and I got to do it again this week, but I'm not going to go overboard. I'm just going to say something that's really important. Access to necessary medical care should not be political. Access to necessary medical procedures should not be politicized. And access to necessary medical procedures and care should not be legislated against by people who have emotional impairments. And the only way that religious beliefs should be involved in healthcare and healthcare access is through personal decision making. In reference to Josh Hawley and his weird colleagues making laws that restrict access to medical procedures across our nation, I think that they are misguided and they should stop today. In fact, there should be laws that prevent lawyers from making laws that restrict access to valid medical procedures. Because abortion is a medical procedure. And these weird laws that are being instituted because of emotional distress across the nation are actually causing death. Death of mothers, death of infants, and it is a horrid situation. Doctors and patients should be able to make medical decisions without interference from the state, period. Moving on, it is interesting that it took our illustrious president this long to come around to this decision. I'm talking about our United States Surgeon General. It appears that the first person that he picked, I don't remember her name right now, but her nomination was withdrawn because Laura Loomer had her head explode because the woman that was nominated had said previously that vaccines are good. And then he nominated this Instagrifter named Casey Means. A lot of people love her because she is very negative about a lot of positive things, exactly the way the MAHA system works. But he finally moved on from her because I guess he didn't think that she had enough of a following in social media, though she was in the millions, I think. He finally found his way back to his favorite group of people, Fox News hosts. And so he's just nominated Nicole Safier, a radiologist who looks for breast cancer and a Fox News contributor. I'm surprised it took this long, but maybe she wanted too much money or something. But supposedly she's almost a lock. And she is really interesting in that she has these opinions that really digress from the mainstream, like most of the people that he appoints or has chosen to run the healthcare agencies. Like, one of her opinions is that Robert F. Kennedy is a health visionary. Well, it's fascinating, but he has no healthcare training. So how can this man who doesn't understand medicine, biology, or healthcare, or has never provided healthcare, how in the world could this person actually be a visionary? I don't know. She seems to think so. I'd like to hear her reasons why, but I don't think we'll get clear answers because she's being nominated by the administration that has no clear answers. But she questions the vaccine schedule. There are questions about it, but the nature of the things that she states is really weird. I mean, she makes incorrect statements. I don't know that our Surgeon General should be saying things like children don't transmit COVID as well as adults do. Well, it's actually not true. And science shows it's safe to go to school without a vaccine. Well, in actuality, this was in December of 2021 when 250,000 people died in America of COVID the next year. I'm not sure that her criticism of the American Academy of Pediatrics for recommending vaccines after Kennedy slashed recommendations. Well, I think that's really interesting that she's criticizing a body of expert physicians for disagreeing with a lawyer who sues for vaccine money. Interesting. And this is when she called him one of the best visionaries when it comes to the healthcare industry. Yeah, he knows how to sue it to make money. And she praises the power of supplements, and she has her own supplement company. She manufactures stuff, and she talks about how rosemary and sage decrease Alzheimer's risk. So do you want to take an herbal supplement, an extract, or do you just want to eat food that has rosemary and sage in it, which is kind of what we've done for the last several thousand, 100,000 even years? And this is the worst thing. When they cut all research to cancer last year, she defended the cuts because the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, actually was wonderful, she said. It is one of the greatest things to happen in U.S. history. I'm not sure that having a bunch of hackers invade our public systems and steal our data was one of the greatest things for public history, especially considering that none of the stuff they cut was valuable. Or actually, the stuff they cut was valuable, and they didn't cut any extras that saved any money. In fact, the cuts they made to valuable things are going to cost us billions in the future to recover from. So, geez, I hope they don't vote this person in because she surely doesn't think clearly about healthcare access, and the health of America. It's pretty crazy. And so I just think that we need to have better thinking when it comes to our public health officials. And unfortunately, these people don't seem to be tracking really very well. Moving on, this is the Healthy Steps Show. I'm Dr. Fred Harvey. We're on WMNF Tampa.
And we're not going to stop there. I'm going to invite everyone out there to give us a call and share your medical questions and concerns with the Healthy Steps radio show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. I've got Sage in the phone booth waiting to take your call. If you dial 813-239-9663. One more time and a little bit slower so you can get your pen and pencils ready. The number to call is 813-239-9663. And you can continue to send your emails to dj@wmnf.org. And in just about a minute or so, I see the boards lit up. We'll have a caller for you, Doc, but let's go on.
So this is Women's Health Month, or Women's Health Observance Month, they call it nationally. And I think it's really interesting. I just read an article today. It's titled, She's a Great Physician with Access to Great Care. No one recognized her perimenopause. And here's why. She's a Black woman. And Black women have a different reception in medical situations. Black men do too. There's a very different approach. And so there's actually evidence that about 5% of overall women are on hormone replacement therapy to treat perimenopause or menopause. Just 1% of Black women are. And this is according to the Journal of the American Medical Association. And the unmanaged hot flashes can lead to worse cardiac health because this affects the vascular system. A 2021 study showed that Black women are at higher risk and they've been left behind. How can we help Black women get better care? What can we do to help to boost this? Well, the woman that is involved in this article, her name is Kudzai, Kudzai Dombo, Dombo, and she is a physician, and she is actually working to increase outreach to help Black women get better care. Alloy is the company she's working for, and they have an initiative for Black women's wellness. I think it's really important that Black women get this time because they're not getting their needs met. And the other statistics that are showing how different it is Black women get breast cancer at the same rate as white women, but their mortality rate is higher. So they're not getting therapy as quickly, as easily. The use of hormones has been altered because of an inappropriate analysis of the Women's Health Initiative study that was published in 2002. What it showed, though, was that estrogen products reduce the risk of breast cancer when you're taking them around menopause. For 5 years around menopause, estrogen alone will reduce the risk of breast cancer. When you mix it with a synthetic progestin called medroxyprogesterone, it increases the risk of breast cancer, stroke, heart attack, dementia, all these different things. And so estrogen is actually a good thing for women. And they need to have more options and more access and more testing of hormone levels so that they can get the right therapy. Looks like we have a lot of callers ready to talk.
Actually, most of the board's been lit on up. I've got Jerry, Logan, and Allison ready to go. Let's go to Jerry. Good morning to you, Jerry.
Hey, folks.
Hi, Jerry.
Are you there?
How you doing?
Great. I think I got. Can you hear me okay?
Very well.
Okay, good. So I have one for me now today. So I need to go in to get some skin, some skin stuff checked out, some potentially precancerous skin stuff checked out. And I'd like to know, can I go directly to a dermatologist, or do you have any suggestions on the best? I haven't been to a doctor in a heck of a long time, and I feel great. So I'd like to know what I should do, sequentially, in your opinion.
I think every dermatologist has their own practice style. Some will have you be able to make your own screening appointment, and some will make you get a referral, and some of that depends on your insurance coverage. So many dermatologists actually have big screening clinics where they use nurse practitioners or physician's assistants and screen the skin, and then they do lots of surgery. There's also independent dermatologists that still just like to look at the skin and talk with people, and they're all over. So I would just check around and go to a dermatologist because that's what they're trained in.
That's what I was going to do. And that was exactly what I was going to do. So can I ask you another one?
Sure.
did this administration approve psychedelics for research and development? Is that one good thing that potentially happened, to my understanding? I mean, if anything that's good has happened, actually.
Well, the thing is,
has it?
I think somebody made some suggestion that they're going to drop cannabis down to C3 from C1, so it's not a banned substance,
I think that's right,
but
studyable
studyable.
in the psychedelics.
But I don't know about the psychedelics. I don't know what they did with them yet. I haven't been paying attention.
Well, check it out. I'm curious about that. And it might be back and forth. It might be, but I think the first thing you mentioned got struck down somehow by the president. But I don't. It's just confusing. So that's why.
Isn't that the point of this administration? Confusion.
Of course. What the hell is going on?
Chaos keeps people off balance, so you can get away with more crime.
Right. Okay. Well, I got it. Anything else?
We'll keep watching the psychedelics. But remember, they haven't been legalized, and they're not gonna be, because if anything it would be cannabis. And the federal government has this. I don't know. Is it pharma? Is it the mafia? Who's owning this? Like, why can't cannabis become an herb like sage and rosemary?
But I think Kennedy suggested this, and I think the research was banned in the 50s for psychedelics, and I think they're trying to open up the research of it, which would be, I think, a positive thing.
It would be. Well, actually, they're already doing research. They can get away with that because you can research a Schedule I drug. You just can't do a lot of clinical research on it. It's specially approved. And so Johns Hopkins has the research on mushrooms. It works.
Oh, great. Well, no, I'm convinced, and I'm a Terrence McKenna fan. So, I mean, I think, but I think it's illegal to be funded by it or something from the federal government.
Only if you get approval through that system. Drug companies can't study it directly.
Right. Exactly. Okay. This is
bench research at high level research institutions. So, yeah, I mean, they're keeping it controlled because they do not want people to smile.
To get well.
Even to smile. Think about it. If you're angry, you're going to vote wrong.
Right. I haven't thought about that, but it's possible. Doc, thanks a lot. I'll get off to let the other callers click in, okay? Thanks.
Excellent, yes.
Great job.
And remember, they keep alcohol legal because alcohol fuels anger and bad decision-making.
Right. I had never even really thought about that. Okay.
It's clear to me.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Thank you there, Jerry. You always add a colorful perspective on the conversation here at WMNF.
Indeed.
And I'm going to remind folks that you too can add to this conversation because you're listening to the Healthy Steps radio show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. And you can join Logan and Allison in the queue and dial 813-239-9663. Sage is here to take that call. So once again, that number is 813-239-9663. And continue to send your emails to dj@wmnf.org. Good morning to you, Logan. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing just fine.
What do you have for us today?
I wanted to ask you, I had blood work in February where I had slightly elevated cholesterol levels, and I wanted to try to attack that with some black seed oil. I wanted your opinion on it.
Well, I think there are some foundational things to do first. I don't think that adding any supplement is worth it to treat any condition until you've done the things that help the condition. So, cholesterol, it is affected directly by your diet. So, are you getting 35 grams of fiber daily?
I try. I'm eating industrial food. I eat veggies and fruit as much as possible. I had oatmeal this morning with banana and walnuts and things like that. But
and so any idea of around how many grams of fiber you're getting a day?
No.
Okay, that would be something to look at because when you get up to that 35 grams amount, you're really working on the cholesterol. Another thing is The exercise. What are you doing daily?
Riding a bike an hour and a half.
Excellent. So that's working on it too. And then what actually is your cholesterol level?
Okay, the total's 284, but my ratio is 4.6.
I don't really go by that ratio. I think the more important thing is, what is your actual LDL? What is your actual HDL? And what are your particle numbers?
The LDL is 196. HDL is 62.
So a 196 LDL, how old are you?
73.
That is a significant risk for cardiovascular event. I recommend that anybody who has a cholesterol LDL over 160 take a statin now, because you need to get your cholesterol down to reduce your risk. You might want to do something else to see what other risk you have currently from that bad cholesterol level, because that's really high. You want to look at a Cleveland Heart Labs vascular inflammation panel. Quest Laboratories does that, and it looks at high sensitive C-reactive protein, which is an indicator for cardiac event. It looks at MPO, which is a white blood cell inflammation indicator for rancid inflamed plaque. It looks at LPPLA2, which is a similar indicator. If those two are elevated, you're looking at a ruptured plaque in the near future, likely. It looks at a chemical called ADMA that looks at the resilience and springiness of your blood vessel walls. The higher the level, the less springiness, and the more likely an event will happen, because tight vessels rupture plaques. And then you want to look at the oxidized LDL level. Rancid LDL is like soap, and it increases the inflammation and causes more problems, and it's very sticky and nasty. And so I would get a particle breakdown test that looks at also your LP little a. It's called the Advanced Lipids Test at Quest, and you can get a Cleveland Heart Labs test and look at your risk. And at the same time, when you're looking at that risk, ask the doctor to prescribe the statin for you, because you are at risk, period.
Okay, well, that pretty much sums it up. I wanted to try to avoid statins because they're a lifelong thing.
But they may not be. If you actually get on the statin and get your cholesterol down, and then you look at some of the other things out there you can do, and you're already doing good things. You're eating fiber, you're eating a good diet, you're exercising an hour and a half a day. You may need it because you may have a genetic driver. Like if you look at your advanced lipids test and your LP little a is elevated, that's a genetic driver for high LDL, and there is actually no medical treatment directly for that. There's one that's injectable that may help it, but it actually works directly on the cholesterol, but not the LP little a. So it's tough to deal with it if it's genetically driven. And yours may be based on what you tell me.
Yeah, that's possible. I've had 14 tests since 2005, and the LDL has never been below 152.
Oh, yeah. I think you actually deserve at least to try the statin. And if you tolerate it, good. Most people do. And if you do, excellent, because that's going to reduce your risk of a cardiovascular and stroke type event.
Great. Any particular statin?
No, I would actually let your primary care doctor jockey that around, see how you have a response. I think they're all good. What about everybody has different responses? Some rosuvastatin is fat soluble, so it has one set of properties. Atorvastatin is water soluble, so it has a different set. And everybody responds differently. So you just have to watch how you feel on it and how your cholesterol responds to it.
Very good. Thank you. What about the black seed situation? Should I just leave it alone?
Well, I think black seed oil is fine. I think it actually is a good actual one of the good plant oils when it's cold pressed and organic, and it does it has some plant chemicals in there. Phytochemicals are really important in anti-inflammatory, antioxidant properties. So I have no problem with you eating some black seed oil. Actually, my favorite way to get it is when they put the black seeds into Armenian string cheese. It gives it an amazing flavor.
Interesting. Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you there, Logan. And we've had Allison waiting patiently. So how are you doing this morning, Allison?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I love your program, let me say. I'm thinking about the string cheese with the black seeds in it.
It's delicious, but you can only find it in Philadelphia. I've looked down here, and it's next to impossible to find this stuff.
It sounds lovely. So I just have a question. I've been in recovery for a long time, recovering addict, and I've been clean for over 30 years, as well as alcohol. And but I've been having trouble sleeping, and I've been taking heavens, I'm having melatonin.
Melatonin. Mm-hmm.
And that helps. However, it doesn't. I'm taking it probably 3 to 5 times a week. And someone suggested a sleep aid that's non-habit forming called Remeron. I want to know what your thought is on something like that, because I value my sobriety. I mean, that's...
Yeah, so Remeron is a psychiatric medication. It is a prescription, and I wouldn't call it a sleep aid. I'd call it a psychiatric medication that has an effect of dulling your brain so you sleep. Yeah, that's the way they work. And so, yeah, they all do. So choosing a pharmaceutical agent may not be the best first solution. I mean, you tried the melatonin. Melatonin's good for getting you to sleep, but sleep continuity is an issue.
Sure.
That is not covered by melatonin because it's really about inducing sleep. People have suggested taking, time release melatonin to continue the effect, and it can work too. But
sure.
The question is, why are you having sleep disruption? And is sleep disruption bad if you can accommodate to it? Now, there was a brilliant human who graced our planet a couple of centuries ago. And the story about Leonardo da Vinci's sleep pattern is that he would take 15-minute naps and pop up and go back to work. And he lived his life like this. I don't know how good or healthy it was, but he was brilliant and created all kinds of amazing works. Right. There are some teachers teaching the nature of our personal reality that talk to how we live in an energetic world. If we go to sleep and our brain realizes that it's slept, and then it gets some stimulus that it might want to be up. I don't know what the stimulus might be. Sometimes it's an internal thing, and you have some problems going on in your body, pains or gut problems or things that would wake you up.
Yeah.
So that needs to be pursued. But it could be simply that, the nature of our reality today is very intense. And it might be that you awaken because you feel some of that intensity. I don't think there's a problem that if you really don't turn on the lights, don't watch your phone screen, don't read, but get up and just relax and sit in meditation and spend some time inside. You might ask your body, why am I awake? And you might find out why.
I like that. I do meditate. I take no drugs at all, maybe a little estrogen. But, something just dawned on me talking to you. I've been working in the hospital in a high stress environment for a number of years on call. And so I had to take a lot of call in the middle of the night, right? And,
I know that feeling.
And just ready to just, bolt at any minute, whenever the phone rings. They're constantly checking my phone to make sure that I don't miss a call. So,
yes.
Okay.
So you're dealing with PTSD. That's hypervigilance.
I think so. After 30 some odd years.
Most of us in healthcare that have dealt with ICUs and ERs are dealing with subtle PTSD symptoms.
Oh, I've got them. Trust me, the issues are in the tissues.
Yeah. So another thing you could do is find a functional medicine doctor and have them do a neurotransmitter workup on you. You know, if you're low in GABA, taking some GABA might actually fill in the blank. If you're low in serotonin, taking some tryptophan might fill it in. And so that you might balance your neurotransmitters a bit. If you have some gut problems, you might want to organize that. But honestly, it sounds like you may have even some adrenal involvement. There's a really good test that Doctors Data does called the HUMAP. And the HUMAP looks at your day-long cortisol levels 4 times during the day to see if you have an adrenal stress pattern. There's so many things you can look at physiologically to get you better before you go to an antidepressant.
Awesome. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to take the antidepressants back to the pharmacy. I don't want them. They've been sitting in my cupboard for a while, and
they'll dispose of them for you.
Thank you so much. And, boy, you bring so much to the community, and I hope you have a great day.
My pleasure to help. Have a great day yourself, and find some solutions inside, not outside.
You got it, baby. Okay, thank you.
Thank you there, Allison. Appreciate you calling on in. And we're down to about, say, 25 more minutes of the show. So I'm going to invite everyone to participate in the Healthy Steps radio show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. Give us a call with your medical questions or concerns by dialing 813-239-9663. Again, that number is 813-239-9663. I've got Dale, Z, and Annie in the line. So let's go to Dale. Good morning to you, Dale.
Morning. And Dr. Harvey, thank you for what you're doing on your program here.
You're welcome, Dale.
Real quick, if I could, I've had these, what doctors call fatty cysts I had one on my arm, and I went to one and wanted it taken out, and they said, leave it alone. They even slapped my hands and said, it's just a fatty cyst. It won't hurt anything. Well, then I finally got a surgeon to take it out, and she said it was a good thing that I had it taken out because that wasn't her best work. It actually was the second largest fatty cyst she'd ever seen, and it attached itself to the muscle, and it was it started eating on the muscle, and she said it was difficult to get it out. She had to cut some of the muscle. Well, I have other knots now that have accrued, and most practitioners or whatever, they just say that it's a fatty cyst, and it doesn't, it won't hurt anything. Well, what happened to and even one was a functional practitioner. What is it that, why don't they ask the question why? Like I think I've heard you say a couple of times, instead of just saying it won't hurt anything or let it go, what causes the fatty cysts? And I even think it could be something else that causes problems. What's your opinion on that?
Well, the medical consensus on what's called a lipoma, which is a fat tumor, and yes, they are encapsulated, so it's kind of like a cyst, but it's really just an encapsulated blob of fat. But the cause is unknown. However, there does appear to be some genetic connection. So is it a metabolic error, or is it sequestration of toxins? It's not really clear, but it doesn't appear that there's any kind of medical treatment. And, some people have suggested that doing anti-inflammatory diet and low-fat diet, I have never seen anyone publish a response to that. So I don't think those things work. And so, these have been followed for hundreds of years. We know medically they don't cause significant medical problems, but if they grow rapidly or they grow big and they press on a muscle, they cause pain. These are generally the reasons to seek therapy. Most doctors will not remove a lipoma because they're not causing any problem. And when you actually cut somebody's skin, you risk things, damage, infection, bleeding, all kinds of things. So people tend to avoid doing anything about them unless the person really wants it done cosmetically.
Well, Doc, I didn't really have any pain from that. Even that, it kept growing bigger and bigger, but there wasn't even any pain. And I finally talked the surgeon into doing it. I just wanted, and because you are more inquisitive than I can't risk a percentage, but probably 90% of the practitioners or doctors, you keep asking. I think I've heard you ask the question why and things like that, and what.
I've asked the question why a million times.
I don't blame you. And so, but my wife used to even take I have one of those on my back, and she's taken she's gotten stuff out it's like a pimple, or like you say.
That's a different thing. That's called a sebaceous cyst, and that's full of cheesy skin stuff that gets trapped inside basically a sphere of skin cells that keeps making skin. That's a different thing. The lipoma, you had yours out for the right reason. It grew really large and it bothered you.
Right.
That's it. There's nothing else they do. They just bother people. If it's sitting on the inside of your arm and your arm can't rest on your flank, you might want to get it removed. But if it's just this little bump on your side or on the side of your leg or something, many people don't even bother with it.
Well, I thought that it was more. It's my ignorance, but I just thought that it was more. Like it could be all kinds of things. If people don't know, like most things, we don't know what causes it, but you can take a pill. If it's like that, and I didn't know the difference between a sebaceous cyst or what you're talking about, lymphoma.
Yes.
And so I've had this stuff. I've had regular medical doctors say that I had this thing in my rear end, a carcinoma. And so is that different? Could a knot possibly be a carcinoma, or is that something that is defined? And
that's really the best question here. So and this is why it's really important to go to a clinician rather than using AI for the diagnosis. We clinicians have been trained to examine and understand the examination. So when I look at a person and I feel the sebaceous cyst and I feel the lipoma, they feel completely differently. It's obvious to me the sebaceous cyst is actually attached to the skin and free from everything below it. It's obvious also that the lipoma is attached to everything below it and free from the skin because the skin will flow over top of it. And so it's really obvious when you see one of these long-standing benign fat tumors called lipoma, you don't want to touch it. We doctors have already known for decades that this is something that you don't need to worry about. And so if you see a clinician, we can apply our clinical expertise and knowledge to what you bring to us so that we can direct you the correct way.
Well, you've been a help in a lot of ways, because the person that when a medical doctor, a traditional medical doctor, poo-poos, everything, and, like I know that you don't go to like a chiropractor if you in an automobile accident you got your arm hanging on by a thread. I'm not that stupid. But the thing of it is when, I've years ago when I played football, I couldn't breathe, and it was from a football injury, and I had two different medical doctors tell me to use a heating pad and stay off my feet. And I was laying there in the bed just breathing hard and I was barely breathing. And I went to a chiropractor and, that they said was, basically years ago, they said that they were quacks and just, within a few seconds was able to breathe again. So
yeah, you probably had a rib subluxation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I appreciate that analogy. But anyway, that's, I just think that I'm doing the same thing that, most people do, including doctors, which is, not taking the right avenue or the right approach for healing. And so I appreciate what you're saying about, what you just said. And I wanted to know, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, I'm not an anti-anything, anti-education, anti-anything, but just tell me what, like you said, a clinician, that's the first time I've had the difference explained from a medical doctor, the difference between a lymphoma and a sebaceous cyst with intelligence.
Lipoma.
Right?
Lipoma.
Yeah.
Lymphoma is a cancer. Let's keep it straight. Lipoma is a fat tumor. Lymphoma is a cancer tumor.
Okay. Well, and I stand corrected on that, and thank you.
You're so welcome. I'm glad to help. And good luck with your lipomas. I think if they don't keep growing, don't worry about them, okay?
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc.
You're welcome.
Day. Bye.
Thank you very much there, Dale. And speaking of waiting patiently, I've got Z in Lakeland who gets the Angel Award today. Good morning, Z.
Well, I don't know about the Angel Award, but I'll take it.
Okie dokie. Good enough.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging on. Here's the doc.
Yeah. I have a question for the doctor, and I don't know. It's kind of, this is my fourth go-round with dementia. My sister is now in a nursing facility. My father, my mother, one of my brothers, and now my sister, all different kinds of dementia. And they reacted differently, to different things. But now with my sister in the nursing home, what I'm seeing is that there's like a standard attitude among the staff that this is like God's waiting room, and everybody's going to die soon anyway, so why bother with a lot of things? And they're wandering the halls like, these movies, The Walking Dead. They wander the halls like The Walking Dead. Those that become unruly get medicated, and everybody's being set in wheelchairs because they're afraid of falls. Well, of course, if you're medicating somebody, a fall could be very likely. I don't see a lot of training for the CNAs, specifically for dealing with people with dementia. I've seen them stand and yell at them and make them sit down, and it's like, do you even know what you're doing? Is there any state requirement for dementia training for CNAs?
I doubt that. I think there's just state training for CNAs. I haven't explored that, though, but you bring up a really good point. And we have a significant problem with warehousing of senior citizens. And unfortunately, we have a system of economics and employment that makes it impossible for families to do what is actually the right and moral and ethical thing for their families, and that is to take leave from work and care for them and make arrangements within the family to do that. We don't have a society that does that. It's the compassion-free society. Here, let's put them in that box over there and forget about them. Unfortunately, that sounds callous, but it appears to be what happens in many cases. There are, I tell you, very committed and very devoted families that do go and take care of them, but some are just so overwhelmed that they are unable to do so. And many times, unfortunately, the demented relative here in Florida is alone, and the family is in other states. And so the common denominator of healthcare facilities is that most are low paid and unskilled. These are people just, holding space so that they can watch to see if a demented person tries to elope out the back door. It's really not a supportive, growth-oriented kind of place. And you're right. People with dementia are seen differently because they're not home. And it is why we have laws against elder abuse, because these people are the most vulnerable in our society because they are up, they're adult, they're walking around, and yet they are of the functionality of a 2-year-old. You don't trust a 2-year-old in the kitchen or driving.
No, this is true, and I understand how they become debilitated over time. But I also feel that we're not treating them as human beings. They're
right.
These are people. These are human beings.
Yes.
They have feelings. You know, when I go in and I have to bring my own remote so that I can put the TV on, I'll put on YouTube. I'll put on soft music or classical music or music from the 60s. Excuse me. And they all come around and sit down and begin to sing along and clap their hands and come back to life and look happy. And I'm looking at the staff and thinking, how hard can this be? Why can't you do this? I've addressed the administrator, and things are starting to change slowly. They've started to make some changes. But if you, and I'm going to caution everybody out there listening, if you have someone in a nursing home, visit them often. And at different times, sometimes in the morning, sometimes at night. You would be amazed what you found. At one point, we went in, and there was another man trying to rape my sister. And
that's really common.
Bent over the bed, and when the police were called, the police said, well, we can't do anything because he's also a dementia patient, and so he couldn't be held responsible for what he's doing. And I'm thinking to myself, well, then, you know, the facility should be making some type of arrangements for this kind of thing. There aren't cameras.
And they try to, but they're understaffed and so since they are all capitalistic, profit-oriented facilities, the stockholders are more important than the residents.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand it. And many of the facilities are owned by people who aren't even in this country.
Yes, true. Big corporations own a lot of them.
Right. There's a lot of money going through, you know, when they talk about misuse of money, that's probably one of the greatest ones, is just the fact that you're paying people to take care of people, but they don't know how. And it's not, I'm not faulting the CNAs because they didn't do the right thing. I'm just saying they don't know how.
System.
They're not being
trained. The system is broken. Truly, it's the system. That's why the CNAs aren't trained well. They don't have the resources to do it. And honestly, warehousing humans is a hideous reality. We need to change our entire society to enable care for loved ones at home. They deserve to be at home with their loved ones.
And for a lot of people, that's a very difficult thing, because if you are working and you need
As I said, we need to change our entire cultural system. People don't get time off. I mean, in Europe, people get 2 years. In Norway, you get 2 years to raise your baby. Here, you get maybe 2 weeks and they take your pay. Give me a break. This is a hideous, horrid, torture country that makes profit off of people's backs.
This is true.
It is hideous. Our government, our society, we are culturally bereft. We are spiritually bereft. The compassion-free society in which we live that focuses solely on profit is sick. It's diseased. And I hope that it gets help.
Well, and then I go to my next subject. What do you think, as a doctor, what do you think we can do, citizens can do, people can do, to start changing this and turning it around? Because I've reached out to the state. I've reached out to...
We have to change the state. We have to vote different people in. It's the only thing. This is what we're stuck with. But otherwise, how can you quit work and take care of your demented sister? I mean, this is our bind. Right. We don't have extended families anymore. If we lived in a group that had 3 generations, we could do it. But we spread across the country, go for the biggest paying job in Kalamazoo or Timbuktu, and then the family's disintegrated. The nuclear family is this destruction of culture, from my perspective. The extended family is the human family, and we don't have it anymore. We don't have the wisdom of the oldest generation coming down to the youngest generation because they're in a warehouse somewhere or they're retired in Florida playing golf.
Yeah, it is. It's very true. And you know, even in our family, we've tried very, very hard to take care of our loved ones with dementia now that we're seeing that it's kind of a generational thing. But again, you've got kids off in college, you've got people who have jobs in other states, and they can't. They just
Right.
can't.
No, I know. That's the way our society's set up. So we need to rethink this thing. Like, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to change it? All change starts locally. So what are you going to do in your town to figure out how to accommodate the old people that are in warehouses? Oh, my word. This is a forever conversation. And I love you for actually bringing up these great topics.
Well, I hope that, you were talking to the woman who loses sleep. I lose a lot of sleep about this. So I understand completely how you could totally lose sleep, because I feel just as you do that there must be something that can be done. There's got to be a way to turn this around, because I feel horrible about this. You know, you go there and these people are zombies. They're just walking around. Some of them have no socks or shoes on. They're sleeping in other people's beds. I mean,
all this stuff is happening. I think what we need to do is actually share a little bit more love. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye and start answering some emails.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, C.
Let's see, what do we have here? Oh, here's one that came in by phone. I'll answer. I'm a middle-aged person who recently experienced vision loss via cataracts. I'm afraid it's corresponding with vaccines. Well, if you're in Florida, the most likely thing is that sun did it. And if you have diabetes, the next thing is sugar did it. If you have an inflammatory condition and you take steroids, there's another reason. There's all kinds of reasons for cataracts, but I never read one about any kind of vaccine doing it. But you know what? Everything is possible. That is the way the universe works. Here's another one. Hey, Dr. Fred, the musical chairs farce with the Surgeon General is ridiculous. Instead of Keystone Cops, let's call this the Keystone Docs. I hadn't heard the Instagrifter term, but it's very appropriate. Let's see, it's weird that most of the current administration's cabinet is former Fox News journalists or washed-up Florida politicians. Yes, it's true. But as we move on, let's see here. Please remember, Doc, that not old people and those with dementia have families. And it never occurs to many people that they too may be lucky enough to get old. That is absolutely so true, Tina. And I think that is one of our societal problems. How do we deal with this issue? Lots of old people maybe they didn't have children, or people have died and they don't have an extended family. How do we develop an extended cultural family? In the past, when we lived in small communities, everybody knew everybody in the community. And if someone was actually failing, they wouldn't just let them die in their home alone. The community would rally around them. Our community is very disjointed. And our community is so focused outside into things like social media that we don't have the time to pay attention to what's going on inside, the most important place. So take 5 minutes today, hang out in silence, and ask your body and your mind what they need today. And I want to thank you, Bill, for running the show boards, and I want to thank Sage for answering the questions, and I really love it. Thank you, people, for calling in and engaging. I love to talk with you, and I love to help you find solutions. So until next week, have a wonderful week and take some healthy steps every day.
Thank you again, Dr. Harvey, for another illuminating and beneficial Healthy Steps radio show. And to you out there, I want to thank you and all of our participants, listeners, and supporters. You make this show awesome. Of course, you've been listening to the Healthy Steps radio show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. Waiting for you like a dear friend is 5 minutes of NPR news, and then get ready for the Sustainable Living Show hosted today by John Butts. Until next Monday at 10 a.m., thank you for listening and supporting the Healthy Steps radio show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa, your community-conscious radio station. Stay safe, stay thoughtful, and know that you are loved.